All right. Welcome to Coaches Liftoff Podcast. I'm here with my guest, Manuela Powell. Welcome, Manuela.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, super excited to have you. Manuela and I know each other from way back 2019. We were just reminiscing about being in Austin, doing our coach training together. So we were talking about what we thought our theme might be today, and what we thought sounded juicy was the idea of how you are using radical vulnerability to help fill your coaching practice.
Yeah.
Which I'm personally super excited about. This is actually vulnerability is an area that I'm working on, is something that I know many coaches resonate with and are working on. So super excited to jump in for those reasons. So maybe before we jump in, if you just want to give the 30-second of intro of who you are for people who don't know you, what kind of coaching you're doing, just a little bit of that would be great.
Sure. I am a mindset coach for moms. I love coaching moms in all the things because I think motherhood kind of permeates everything we do. And a lot of times not in a good way. So I love getting all that patriarchal stuff out of the way. And I used to be a breast cancer surgeon. So it's been, I don't know, a good 20 some years that I have been listening to women when they're in their most vulnerable state, which just gives me a lot of insight in, how these things affect our lives.
Yeah. And how long have you been coaching for, just for folks who don't know you?
About, I think 2 years. Yeah, 2 years now. It's
Yeah.
2021. Yeah. I kind of like forget which year it is.
Yeah, me too.
2 years.
Yeah. So maybe just the quick, because I think people are going to hear it and go, wait, what? They don't know you. Brain surgeon to coach.
A breast cancer surgeon.
Yeah, sorry, breast cancer surgeon to coach. You probably got that question many, many times, I assume, right? That's probably what everybody asks. But,
Sure.
I couldn't let that pass by because people are going to go, what? Wait. So what? Maybe just give us the quick, like how that happened, why that happened.
Sure. Yeah. The super quick version of it is that I am from Brazil originally. I met my husband here in the US. We moved to Brazil, had our kids there, and we knew we were going to move back to the US. And I did some training here in the US at Sloan Kettering and Cornell. So I know how it would be to have to kind of start from scratch here. And since I had kids pretty late, I had my kids for when I was 42 and then 44. I was like, I saw my friends not seeing their kids for like 5 days a week, and I just don't want to do that. So I decided to quit medicine without having a clue what to do. We moved to the US. I had a 2-year-old and a newborn, like 2-month-old. And, for a year was that kind of, what am I going to do with my life? Because how am I ever going to find something that's going to fulfill me, like literally curing cancer did. And after a year, I think my husband very lovingly, not in a not patient way, said, why don't you find a coach? And I always say this part because it really happened. I said, well, I don't play any sports, why would I do that? Because that's how much I knew about life coaching. And it's like, no, a career coach, a life coach, something like that, just to help you. And I had no idea what it was. I am one of those people that researches everything before she says anything. So when I started researching, I just felt that whole body experience of like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And my husband was like, no, I said, hire a coach. Don't go be a coach. I'm like, no. I was born to do this. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So that's how it all happened. And then I went to coach training and here we are.
I love it. I had a very similar experience in some ways. Not that I was a cancer surgeon, but I've been an executive and entrepreneur in previous lives, and kind of went through a similar thing. I was like, what do I really want to do? Right? You hear the idea of you climb up a ladder, and then you find out the ladder is up against the wrong building.
Oh God, yes.
That was one of those experiences. But so I was like looking, and I was like, oh, I just love the idea of potential and helping people reach their potential. If only there was a job out there, that did that. I didn't know about coaching, right? So I'm just searching and searching. And then somehow, I don't even remember how I came across it, but I was like, oh my God, it turns out there is. It's this thing called coaching. Guess that's what I'm supposed to be.
Right?
That was it.
Can you imagine not knowing about coaching now? Because like I just live and breathe it all the time. I was like, how did I not know about this? Like where kind of rotten. That's just how medicine is. You just get
Mm,
so focused in one thing. Like I literally did not know it was a thing. And thank God it is because people do need this.
yeah,
People are not happy in their life. Like
yeah,
you said, so many people that just climb the wrong ladder
yeah,
and just do the things that they should quote unquote do. And instead of really, going through the hard parts of kind of knowing yourself and then, okay, what do I really want to do if there was nobody else saying anything about what I should do?
yeah, totally. Well, I
Yeah.
think it's helpful for me going back to that place where I didn't know what coaching was, because that's where most people come in the
Yeah.
coaching conversation with me. They're like, maybe
Oh,
you know
yeah.
Tony Robbins, right? Like that's what I knew. I was like, Tony Robbins.
And it's
Right?
funny because when I hear people, sometimes people don't know who Tony Robbins is. I'm like,
Yeah,
wow, that's amazing. Because, it's just like to us, it's just such a, like we, it's just such a pervasive thing, I guess, in our lives. We know about all these people. And it's like, how can you not know this person exists? It's crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't know what you're missing out.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I love coaching people who have no personal development history whatsoever because you just like blow their mind so much with so little. It's just so easy to
yeah,
get a people with transformation. So it's really fun.
yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Awesome, cool. So I thought maybe a fun place to dive in would be with a Facebook post that you wrote in September 2020, which was in
Mm.
a group, a coaching group that you and I are both in. And you sent this post, and I responded to you, and we had a quick conversation then. So this is almost a year ago as of time of this recording. So I'm just going to read a little blurb of it, and then I want to
I'm
kind of
so
go back
curious.
there. I want to go back there to what was going on then, and then we can kind of fast forward. So here is the blurb. Okay. I've been officially open for business for 14 months. I've invested about 30,000 in my business. I've made exactly $0 back. It's been, to put it mildly, baffling to me as to why that is. People message me regularly to tell me how inspiring they find me. I can honestly tell you some people are my fans in the actual sense of the word. The one theme I hear at least once a week is some version of, I love how you're showing up. Your content is incredible, incredible. I admire you. Baffling, I tell you. No paying clients. Exactly 2 consults, which, by the way, were both seemingly completely sold about working with me before even getting on the call. But as it turns out, they were both yes, but no. They said yes, then they said no. And then you went on to say later in the post, here's what I realized. I am afraid to have paying clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would
That was a
love,
big one.
yeah, I would love to hear where you were then and
Hmm.
before then, and kind of just take me back to that state where you were in those 14 months. What was going on?
Yeah. So as you said, that was September. I had opened officially for business in July, the previous year, July 2019. And, as you know, like showing up, and granted, now I know that I was doing a lot of things that weren't really, I do believe in mindset before anything. I believe you can say the same words.
Mm,
And depending on how your energy, your mind, everything that you think of, depending on how you're focusing your mind. Like, for instance, if I'm like, oh, I'm going to write this, but of course it's not going to work. Then it's not going
mm,
to work. And so I was doing a lot of that. I was like, why is it not working? This was my basic energy for a lot of that time. And I really didn't understand. So I was a lot my focus was on that whole thing. Like, this is not working. How is this not working? Because I know I write well. I know I'm a really good coach and all that. And then what I realized one day on a coaching session was that to do what I did as a doctor, I needed, I don't know, decades.
mm,
It's just so long until I could hold a scalpel and, actually perform surgery by myself without nobody looking over me. So, and coaching is just, you can actually call yourself a coaching today. Like, if you
mm,
have no certification or nothing, you can say, okay, I'm a coach, and go for it. It's fine. There's no regulations. So, and although I had done a really good coach training and I read a lot and I study a lot, and I still, I was very afraid of having those clients because in my old career, if I made a mistake, people could really
mm,
die or be really, really in a bad place. So I think I was carrying that weight of, I'm still not good enough, which is one of the things that I love coaching on, and I really know it very well.
mm,
So I think it was that feeling, that imposter syndrome, of like, I can't do this yet. I have to have, I don't know, at least like 5 years of experience. But like, how am I going to get experience if you don't, though
Yeah.
during training we coach so much our peers and we do free coaching and all that stuff, I still thought that wasn't enough. I had like 100 hours of coaching, but like 100 hours. I stopped counting surgeries when I was like in 3,000. So,
Mm.
I mean, I realized that that was it. And when I realized that I couldn't harm people with coaching, and that I was actually afraid, and the thought behind it was, I'm just not good enough for this. I need X and Y and Z. I need another course. I need another training. I need another book. I need another whatever. Once I realized that, then I was able to start changing that and start looking at it from a completely different perspective. And I think right after, actually, I signed a client with that post from the coaching school, but it was just for one session. But right after that, by changing a lot of my behaviors and mostly my mindset behaviors, then things started changing.
I love that.
And yeah.
I want to dive into a little more of the mindset after this, but I
Hmm.
just want to pin one thing first, which is what you said, which is I cannot harm people with my coaching,
Yeah.
which is an amazing insight, actually, right? Because I love that, for you, it was so real because you actually used to be in a line of work where actually a person could die.
Yeah.
But I've had the experience, I can imagine other coaches having it, where it almost feels like I might die if it's like
Yeah.
I might die, they might die, right? On some
Yeah.
level, psychological level, it almost feels like, this rejection that's not good enough is like tied into our survival or their
Yeah.
survival.
And I
Um,
think that has a lot to do too with one thing that I think coaches do have is like every session you need to have like this amazing breakthrough.
mm,
We kind of believe that in the beginning. It's like, oh my gosh, if my client is not like dumbfounded by what I just said and like, oh my gosh, you just like crap open my skull, it's not good enough, which is not true. And you just, it's so much, it's so valuable to have those little shifts. And so a lot of times also what I see is that they don't have the insight during the session. That happens later. So it's just like you really can't harm them. And even, as the saying goes, like you can talk to a lamppost and it will help you just getting things out of your head and into the void, or journaling or whatever.
yeah,
But when you have someone to just like ask you one question, to me, it's like when you want to look at your thoughts by yourself, is just you trying to like put your closet, like organize your closet by being inside it. And it's like if you
mm,
take all the clothes out and look at all of them, and the clothes being the thoughts, I'm like, okay, which thoughts do I want? Which thoughts do I, I'm gonna toss and I don't need anymore. And then you can put it back. So having someone to do that with you, that's the real power of coaching, and not just like blowing people's mind every single session.
yeah, yeah, totally. And I can definitely resonate with what you're saying around this feeling like it's on me to move something in the session. It's on me to
Yeah.
get them results. It's on me. And I can imagine this is something that a lot of early stage coaches probably experience. And I know something that's actually been helping me. Um, my coach in a session not too long ago said something to me. I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically like, oh, when I'm having a conversation with a prospective client and they start acting like they're a customer and I'm like a salesperson, like I basically just shut that down. Like that's not the what's
Oh
going on
yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you have no customers. Yeah, I don't have customers either, right? And I don't
Yeah.
have, I saw I was creating a distinction where I'm coach over here and you're coachee over there. I'm
Yes.
service provider and you're the service receiver, and it's like
Mm.
creating this thing where I'm this thing over here. I'm this, maybe even expert, right? Which I
Yes.
know coaching is
Yes.
not about, but expert is the same. To me, it's the same mindset of like, I need to have the results. It's like, right. So
Yeah.
there was this divide, right? Like I'm this over here and you're that over there. And the way
Yeah.
I now reframe it and look at it um, is true partnership. And I know that's what they say, if you
Yeah.
look at the ICF definition, they're like, it's a partnership.
It's literally the definition, but it takes us so long to like,
Right.
oh, it's actually
It's
that.
legitimately so
Okay.
now I'm like, how would I, I've been in business, I've been entrepreneurs, I've had business partners. If I had a business partner, how would I relate to them? Right. It's like I'm considering partnering, if it's a new client, I'm considering partnering with somebody in the business called their life, right? We're doing
Yeah,
a joint venture called your
100%.
life. It's not me over here and you
100%.
over there, right? Like we're co-creating every conversation, every result.
Yeah.
So seeing that for me really helped take this pressure off of I need to deliver the results.
Yeah, because we can't, like, if, and of course we have the responsibility of being present and listen and just, and not be afraid to ask hard questions, because a lot of times, like, oh, if I say this, I might risk this relationship, because
Yeah.
right, sometimes we do have to say things that people are not going to like to hear, because that's what will probably move them getting out of their comfort zone and all that. And a lot of times you're like, I know that for me in the beginning, I was very scared of, like, oh, I know what's happening here. And now I just, and I say a lot of times, and I ask a question or I mention something I notice, and immediately, okay, what comes up with you? Because I can be wrong. I don't know. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
what comes up with you? And even if I'm completely off the mark, that might make the client think about their situation in a way that they didn't before. So it's fine. So there's no way to harm them, because, like,
Yeah.
even if you say something that's completely makes no sense at all to them, like, oh no, but and then it goes to something that might make sense to them. So it's really, our job is really easy. And
Yeah. 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 In that regard, it's, I mean, in some ways, when you take it that like that, it's like, I can't do anything wrong in the session, really.
no,
You know?
only, I think the only thing wrong we can do is focus on us, as in, like, allow our ego to be in the middle and not just focus on the client. Like, what in the beginning I made that mistake, and it was very, very, very early on, and thank God it was with a group of peers. To when she told me the situation, like, oh, I've just been in this situation, I know how to do this, and I was kind of like trying to steer her towards my
Mm.
solution, which is, and of course she was a coach and she was like, no. So it was such a good thing for me to have that so early, to see, oh man, wait, my solution doesn't work for her because she's not me. What am I trying to do here? That's crazy. I just have to ask her questions that she will find her solution. And I thought, honestly, like, I was judging her solution. She had come to it, and I was like, oh, that's not good enough. Right, in my mind I was like, no, 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 let's go here.
Yeah.
Which, when I noticed that, I was like, oh, okay, this is not about me, hello. It's about them, and
Yeah.
they are not me, so of course their solution is different. So
Yeah.
that was amazing. That was
Yeah.
really good learning, right off the bat.
Yeah. Totally. Um, okay. So let's kind of go back to where we were, which was September 2020, right? You're
Hmm.
14 months in business,
Hmm.
$30,000, no clients. You have this realization. Okay. Fast forward to, where you are today, with
Hmm.
your mindset, your business, and tell us a little bit about that. And then, like, I want to explore that gap. Right.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
maybe if you could paint a picture of kind of where you are today and what's
Hmm.
different.
Yeah, so I think today one thing that I know was made it really different was that I used to dread consults a little bit, because I was like, oh my gosh,
Mm.
and consults, I don't know if everybody calls this, but it's just like this free call that I offer people for us to have a conversation so people tell me what their issue is, and we talk about it, and I kind of, let's say, diagnose the problem and say, here are the things that you kind of have to go through to get to the solution, or to the place that you want to be, like where you are and where you want to be, and how can we get there. So I thought that call in my mind was like, oh, this is so salesy, and I hate selling, and selling is gross and all of that. And of course, then when you think that, you don't sell much. So to go back to what we are just talking about, when I realized, like, first of all, consults are just a way of me knowing a person. And now I have, like, no attachment. I just, like, okay, what is your deal? Where you are right now? Where do you want to be? And I am the person who's going to fight for your dreams. Like, that thing that you say, where you want to be, you're not fighting for it right now. Nobody else is, right? So in my mind is like, I'm gonna say whatever I need to say, and it's not gonna be salesy. I don't care if you buy it from me or not. I just care that if this is what you want and you're unhappy right here, and this is where you want to be, I really want you to get there. So how can we do this? And if I think I can help them, I'll say, hey, I can help you, and here's how. And many times I said, people, it's like, hey, you know what? I'm not the kind of coach you need. Because, for instance, one person wanted to find a career, but she wanted someone who would help, like, with resumes and blah, blah. I was like, I don't do that. I do mindset. So Here's a bunch of names that you can,
Mm.
but I want you to go and I want you to find that solution. So I think that was when I stopped thinking about consults as this is gross and salesy, and as this is an opportunity for them to really sell themselves on their dreams. And like, no, I can actually achieve this,
Yeah.
and look at a way to do it. That completely changed for me. So now it's like I love consults. I'm so excited when I have them. I used to be like, oh my gosh, how I'm gonna prepare to this for this and whatever. And now I was just like, I'm gonna have a conversation with a person. It's gonna be so
Mm.
fun. And if they don't buy it from me, I'm just gonna know a new person. It's gonna be great. So that was one of the big mindset shifts that happened for me.
Yeah.
That helped a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of the way I wrote it down is like what I heard from you is that I'm the person that's going to fight for your dreams. And I love this idea. And it's what one of my coaches calls being a champion. He says, I'm a
Yeah.
champion for everyone, right? It's like I'm a loving defender of
Yeah.
your dreams.
Yeah, because a lot of times the person, first of all, a lot of times that person has nobody who believes in them,
Yeah.
let alone themselves. They definitely don't, which can be a thing that prevents them from buying coaching, because they're going to hear, oh, that was like, oh yeah, that sounds great, but like that's not going to work for me. And I think our jobs is just to show them this can work for anyone. I don't care what your situation is. You're not a special snowflake that coaching doesn't work for. There's some things, basic things that if you do, like there's no way. I do tell my prospective clients, I do guarantee this will work, unless the only way it's not going to work is if you want to blame other people for your problems, you don't want to take responsibility, and you don't want to go through the growing pains of it. Because sometimes to change habits and beliefs and things that you've been carrying for so long, or let go of trauma or things like that, can be a painful process, right? Is the most cliche thing ever, but the caterpillar has to become the goo before it becomes a butterfly. And it is true. A lot of times that goo part is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So the only way that coaching is not going to work, quote unquote, is that if people are resistant to know that they have control, they have power, which a lot of times we think we don't, and we blame whatever, politics, the weather, our kids, or situation, our boss, whatever,
Yeah.
for everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So I want to maybe begin to explore a little bit about vulnerability and how this is all
Hmm.
tied in. I want to turn off my air conditioning first because it's probably getting picked up here. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay. Um,
Mhm.
so, okay, we talked about some of the things that have kind of shifted for you and changed. What has the role of vulnerability been in these shifts, and what's changed for you over the past year? Um, Maybe just a little bit like how you think about that,
Mhm.
what's changing your mindset around that. Um,
Yeah. I think one important thing about us as coaches is that if we think of ourselves as a business, we are the business, right? Like this is me as a coach, my life, the way I live my life. I don't think anyone wants to buy life coaching from someone who hates their life. I think that would not be right. Something that would be, oh yeah, that person seems unhappy. Let me go buy coaching from them. Like let me have them help me make my life better. So I think I had to really take a hard look at my life and say, hey, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Nobody has it all together, quote unquote. Nobody knows and is happy all the time and satisfied all the time. That is not what life coaching is about. There's no way that you can achieve that. The thing that you can achieve is how to deal with the parts of your life that are not perfect, how to deal when your emotions get the best of you, how to deal when life throws a bunch of crap at you, and everything is kind of falling apart and you still have to show up for work or for your kids and all that. So I started to notice that if a lot of coaches will show themselves as this perfect being, they have those perfect Instagram feeds and everything matches everything and it's all nice and cute and whatever. And honestly, I don't want that, because that's just looks so fake to me. When I see that, I'm like, I am not going to, especially treating or dealing with something like motherhood. Someone mentioned to me once, I'm like, oh, I'm going to give you a tagline. And the tagline was something about effortless motherhood. And my comment was like, I would never put these two words together, ever, ever. It's like, oh, only on the sales page. I'm like, especially not on a sales page, because that's just total BS. Like, who in
Yeah.
their right mind are gonna think that mother is effortless? It's not now, it's not it was not yesterday, it's not gonna be tomorrow. Like, there's no way. It can be a lot of other things. It can be way better than we have it now. We can let go of the shoulds and all that. So I thought that actually showing people that, even when you have all these tools, you still do things like yell at your kids sometimes. And
Mm.
I was a person who had never yelled at a person in my life before I had kids, never ever. And here I am, a coach for moms, losing completely with my kids. But you know what? I'm human, and my kids are crazy. In my defense, I'm just gonna say that they're nuts. So, but again, it's about how you react to that, how you then say, okay, how can I prepare myself for this to not happen again? How can I forgive myself for that? How can I not be guilty for taking time for myself? This is one of the things I hear the most from people in my group and all that. Like, their biggest problems, like, yes, whenever I do take time off for myself, I feel really guilty because motherhood is supposed to be you're supposed to love and want to be with your kids 24/7, and that's just not reality, right? Because
Yeah.
so I wanted to just show people that you can have all these flaws and have all these things and still have a life that is amazing. Like, if you ask me right now, it's like, yeah, I love my life. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Oh my gosh, so not perfect. But it's amazing. To me, it's like, it's a life that I am conscious all the time, that I'm intentional all the time. And sure, I wish I wouldn't yell at my kids. I wish people wouldn't get sick in my life and people wouldn't die and whatever, right? But I know I can deal with these things when they happen. And every time something like that does happen, it just makes me a stronger person and a better person.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, kind of what I heard in there is the idea of I don't want to be perfect. It's actually not the image I want to put across, and that's not helpful. Um, I'll say for myself, I've definitely had the experience, and it's a thing I'm still working on. Of it's like vulnerability or authenticity or the lack of it is like I feel it's like the gap between who we present ourselves to be outwardly and what we're thinking, and feeling about ourselves inwardly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think this can show up for me and maybe other coaches as either uh, I have my shit together, I know XYZ, I
Hmm.
have a certain level of success, I have a certain level of money, I have a certain level, whatever it may be, a certain level of experience, and um, and feeling like putting that out there is mm, necessary. Almost, it's like let me put
Yeah,
on this suit, right?
I agree.
Who I think I should be in order to get the results that I think I want.
Hmm.
And inside, there's something else going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and I think it's so valuable for your clients because, as you said, we are not. I think one of the difference between therapy and coaching is like the therapist. A lot of times there's like that kind of like, oh, let's say the
mm,
doctor. I'm above you in the hierarchical sort of way. And with coaching, we're really partnering. Like, we're like, no, you're the expert in your life. I'm just here because I am outside and I can see things, and then I can kind of, because of course we have coaches too. So of course we have things in our lives that I can self coach all day long, and I'm still like, then my coach comes and asks like one question. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Because I wouldn't have gone there because my brain, of course, is like, this is not where we're going, right? Because the brain wants to stay in the safe, familiar thing. So I think really uh, doing a disservice to people when you try to sell them this perfection and that they would never achieve. And then is when they're going to think, oh, there's definitely something wrong with me because everybody else can, I see that person on Instagram and look at their life. It's perfect. And it just increase, especially for moms, just increase that, the whole Pinterest mom thing. Oh my gosh, look at that person. She has everything figured out and she does these beautiful things for her kids. I'm like, no, you can do that. And you can also be a total hot mess other day. It's
mm,
fine, right? That's just how life is. So selling the perfection of the effortless motherhood to me is it just increases the problem. It just makes people feel even more inadequate.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm curious, has this been maybe I'll call it a conscious cultivation of this vulnerability? Because like,
Mm,
outside looking in, it just what I see from you on Facebook and your messages is like, I've kind of watched this journey and this progression. It looks to
Mhm.
me of like more and more vulnerable, more and more badass, more and more
Yeah.
like it's cool. It's been really fun and
It
inspiring.
definitely evolved, because here's what this just came to me. Here's how I think I was behaving before. I think it was like, okay, I was showing up in social media as if I was going on a first date.
Mm,
So I put a pretty clothes and I put makeup and I kind of do my hair, which is all me, but I'm not gonna sit there in the first date. I'm like, oh, here's all my shit. Right? You're just like, no, let me just like be cute and like, just not say what a hot mess I am some days and whatever. And then I was like, you know what? That's cool and all, but I think I kind of like take a little bit of that off, because that is
mm,
me, but it's not whole all of me. So yes, I show up with makeup and all pretty sometimes, and sometimes I have it all figured out. Sometimes I'm rocking motherhood and life in general, and other I'm just like a complete disaster, because that's how it is. That's how life is, and that's how we have a human brain. There's no point where we're gonna get to I'm there, I'm personally developed, I don't need anything else. Never, because our brains are always going to have something else. We're always going to have to go to a different level, be it with parenthood, be it with our business, be it with our relationship. So I felt like taking off, like, I think you're right that since then I started like, okay, maybe we don't need lipstick today. And not in the literal sense, but
mhm.
which sometimes it did happen for sure. Like I made lives with my gray roots showing with zero makeup, just coming from our workout, which was something that in my doctoral life, like I would never show up like that. Right. I was always like, because I have to show up as a professional. And being a coach, I'm like, I can curse all that I want because that's how I speak as a normal human being. And some people don't like that. And I just tell them there's a lot of really good coaches who don't curse. Go
Mm,
follow them. It's fine.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
I just felt that like being the most me that I can be, the people that are going to resonate with that and are going to listen to what I say, which is not new. Like I don't say anything new. Like I'm sure you don't. And no, we're just repeating things that we've learned. I don't know, with Seneca and right, like Plato and whatever. Right, we're just like saying it a different way. So the people that are going to resonate with my way of throwing f bombs at them and whatever, and saying what a hot mess I am sometimes, my kids, they're gonna listen to what I'm saying, and that's gonna help them,
mm,
instead of me being, oh, let me be like this, I don't know, take the parts of my life that are not super amazing and great.
yeah,
And I just can admit that I'm not lying, but in the end I'm like, I felt a little bit like hiding because it's
yeah,
not the whole of me. So I just wanted to be like, oh, this is what it is. Take it or leave it. And not to say that I can't change, which I'm always growing and changing, but this is how it is. And I don't think none of us will ever be perfect and have that, perfect feed Instagram life in actual life.
yeah, yeah. I love the dating analogy you put out there, and I mean the way that I was hearing, I don't know if this is the way you're thinking of it, but because you talked about when you first went out there, it was like a first date. You're putting some things out there, but you're not putting everything out there. And the way I heard that was like, that's totally okay. That's a great place to start, actually. I have a declaration I say to
Yeah.
myself, which is, I'm as brave as baby steps. And it's
That is
like,
so good.
if you
Yeah.
think about it, a baby walking for the first time is like unbelievably brave. So it's like,
Seriously.
I'm as brave as a baby steps. And
Yeah.
so what I heard is like, it's okay to be on a first date when you first start. It's like, start there.
Sure.
Start on first
Yeah,
date.
absolutely. And you can help you, and you do help people, then it's
Yeah.
fine.
Um,
Yeah.
because it's like, would you have been ready a year ago to jump into what you're doing now, radical
Yeah, no,
vulnerability
I don't.
experience?
And regarding that specific thing, so I'm doing for this month of July, I'm doing a radical vulnerability. I'm actually talking about things that I've never told. Some of them I never told anyone. And for that to happen before I went out and told the world, I had to tell my mom
Mm,
and my brothers. Right. So before I started, I wrote an email to them and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. And these are some of the things that I might or may not try. I don't know. Cause I don't have a plan for these things. I'm really one of those people that like, oh, today, this is it. This is what came through and this is what's going on. But I wanted to tell them. And I was like, because also I want us to be really real with each other. I think we have a great relationship, but there's a lot of things that we don't talk about just because, I don't know, right? Like we don't talk about everything with our families. And that was amazing because it really started this whole conversation in my family. And I had so many amazing conversations with my mom, like I never had before. And then one of my brothers is going through a hard time, and that helped him to have hard conversations from his side with his people. So it was just so interesting to me to see how, like me doing this thing, which was all about me, really, right? Just opened up so many things in other relationships with my husband and with like so many people. And now I just feel like as it goes on, I'm just really care less and less for what
Mm,
people think about me, and not in a bad way, like not in like, oh, I don't care and you can go, no, but like really like, hey, I really love myself and I really accept myself, and I'm not perfect, and I accept myself with all these flaws and all these stupid things that I did when I was 18 or whatever. And I forgave myself for all the quote unquote mistakes I made. And if you can't do that, also, it's okay. We don't have to be friends, right? You can
mm,
just move on your life, no hard feelings. We can love each other from a distance. That's perfectly fine.
yeah.
So I think I feel that now. I feel that when I'm gonna have conversation, even with my clients, I can be more open to ask those hard questions and even to see where in their lives they're not being open with themselves. Because I think that's one of the things that we also don't do. We're not vulnerable with ourselves
Mm,
to start with, right? We don't admit to ourselves that whatever, like we did these things and that we were wrong, that we could have done whatever, like so many things that we're kind of like, yeah, it was okay. Let's not think about this because this
right.
is kind of,
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
me feel bad. So,
Yeah.
and
Can,
instead of like, no, let's just like poke it, like compost. Let's do like this, and it's gonna be so smelly and horrible. But then it's gonna be this beautiful juice that we're gonna make things grow with.
I
What
love
like this
that.
metaphor? I love this.
Can you just give everybody so they know what exactly is the radical vulnerability experiment?
Yeah, I'm writing things, and it's not even like every day because I totally let go of the perfectionism. So before, if I would do something like this, it'd be, oh, day one is a Monday, day two, do it. And now I'm like, you know what? Like there were several days last week that life was happening and I just could not even look at social media, let alone write something like that. But what I'm doing is each day I share something about myself that people can judge me for, and some people do, and that would be, some things that are, so one of them that I said here, that I yell at my kids, and I do not like yelling at my kids, and I think I've read the research, it's not good for them. But I think it's important to say these things and to allow people to know that sure, you might do things that are not, they're not going to be amazing, but you can only do as much as you can with the awareness you have today, and just try to be better. Like one of my favorite quotes is Maya Angelou's, do the best you can with what you know. When you know better, do better.
Mm,
And that's all there is, right? I did all these idiot things, and when I was younger, and for a long time allow those things to define me and to make me a wrong person or a not good enough person and all these things. And I think accepting them, I'm like, okay, yeah, I did it. And I'm going to forgive myself because I could only do my best with what I had then, which is the same thing that I'm doing now. And I'm still making mistakes that I'm sure I'm going to continue making mistakes until the day I die,
yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel like these? So I hear is like you're having all these big shifts in you call it mindset, your being, I sometimes call it,
Mhm.
around everything all the work you've done around vulnerability, all the sharing. Um, how do you feel that inner transformation is helping create clients, right? It's like, how's all the vulnerability that you've been
Mhm.
putting out, all the sharing, how is that either directly, like practically, right? Like I'm posting and
Yeah.
people coming in, or from a mindset and being standpoint, like how is it helping you? Um, what's the link, right? Like how is it helping create clients?
Yeah, I think it's when people see that it is okay for you to not be perfect and still not die. Because this is what our brain thinks, right? It's just like, okay, it's, if we do this thing, and in relation specific to motherhood as well, if I, let's say I want to go get a promotion, they offer me a promotion in my job, and that means I'm going to have to travel, so I'm not going to be with my precious snowflakes for, I don't know, 2 days out of a month or something. I can't do that because that's not what a good mom does. And then they see something that's like, no, I say the whole time, like and here I'm spending summer in Colorado with my family, and one of my kids does not have daycare camp or anything like the whole day, and we have to share it. Like in the morning my husband stays with him and vice versa. And I notice that I'm not a person who wants to stay with their kids the whole day. So my kids go to daycare and they go to school and they go to after school care because I love working. I didn't become an entrepreneur to stay home with my kids. And that's something that's like, oh my gosh. And I actually just saw this on Facebook. A friend of mine posted that and I was like, exactly. I 100% am with you on that. And saying that sometimes like, oh my God, how can you say that? Because you're supposed to want to be with your kids like literally the whole time. So I think when moms specifically see that, they're like, you know what? I think that person can help me
Mm.
do more of the things that I think are so wrong, or accept myself for whatever I did in the past. Or I heard of someone one day told me that I asked to join my group. One of the questions is, what was your biggest struggle as a person since you had kids? So not with parenting, but for you as a person. And one of the people answers like, oh yeah, I felt like I had to hide myself. Even I had to hide my tattoos.
Mm.
And I was like, what? Like, how is a permanent thing in your skin that you're now gonna have to hide because what? Some, and Aunt Susie down the street thought that's not whatever that means something that it doesn't, right? And even if you did that tattoo when you were a crack addict like 20 years ago, if you're not right now and you have kids, like, okay, that happened.
Yeah.
That's part of you. You can't erase that. That happened. That is there with you. Doesn't have to define you. Doesn't have
Mm.
to be you forever and ever. And you don't have to hide or hate that part of yourself. You can just accept that.
Yeah.
So I think when people see that coming from a person who's saying, hey, and by the way, also I have a bunch of tools that can help you
Yeah.
do that too.
Yeah.
I think that, that makes the people again who like the way I share this message more attracted, instead of being, I'm the perfect mom, come work with me. Because everybody knows that's bullshit.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
happen. Right.
Yeah. I think there's something about the relatability of it, but
Hmm.
also I think, I'll tell you the way that I've experienced you as you've
Hmm.
written these things, which is like, I mean, it's why we're in conversation today, because there's a magnetism
Hmm.
to vulnerability. It's like,
Yeah.
it's so rare. Like what you're
Hmm.
doing is to me so rare and admirable, actually. That's like, I want some of that. Like, give me some of what Manuela's got. What she got going on over there, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, um, I think when a potential client or anybody sees that, there's a natural magnetism to that. They see who you're being. They see that it's
Yeah.
so rare in this world for somebody to be totally okay with themselves and loving themselves, that they go, I want some of that. How did she do that? Right?
Yeah, I think that, and especially because I was a person who absolutely did not love myself one bit for most of my life. I really did not. And I thought I was wrong for so many reasons and all these things. And then now when I had all these conversations with my mom, I don't know what it was, something that was happening in my life at the time. I was like, so sad you're going through this because, well, and I was like, wait, what? Why are you sad? Like, this is just life. This is just what happens. And I'm not sad. I love my life. I've never been happier, even though this and that are happening. Like these things are happening. But I think it's really the acceptance and the love that we have for ourselves that make a difference, that allows us to, sure, there's a bunch of things going on, but it's just how life is going to be.
Yeah.
And being able to have that and to say, yeah, I can still be happy even though we can hold these two things together. Right, this is I slept for 3 hours last night. Yesterday I fell ice skating and I hit my head. I might have a mild concussion right now. It's like I have like a giant ball
You're
on my
doing
head.
great for concussion,
And like everything hurts
Yeah.
in my body, but I was like, you know what, like it was so fun, and like my kids
Yeah.
loved it, and we had like this great time, and it was like a literally, I'm gonna go one last time, and then I bonked myself. I was like, you know what, I cried for a minute. I was like, damn it, why did I go the last time? I'm going so well, I don't want to be hurt. I was like, no, you know what, I'm just gonna cry here for a while because I'm not liking this one bit and it really hurts. And I
Mm.
cried and cried and cried and cried for like 40 minutes, and it was like, okay, put some ice in my head. I'm like, let's go. Life moves on. And it's a silly example, but it's just like the thing that I think back in the day, I'll be like, oh my gosh, now I'm just have to. everything's gonna hurt and my it's gonna be so hard and this week's gonna be impossible and I'm gonna have to cancel everything, instead of like, just see what happens. Let's take some ibuprofen and see what goes on.
Yeah. 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 I love that.
So it's just so much easier to live like this, I feel like. It's just so much work to keep finding excuses and hating yourself all the
Mm, yeah. Yeah. And how about if we just look from a, I'll call it practical perspective, an outside in
time.
perspective, right? Because most of what we've been talking about is, inside out mindset.
Yeah.
How practically are you using this to create clients? Meaning, what I guess what's the process, right? I see your posts, I see your call to
Hmm.
actions. Is that kind of how you've been going about it, that you've been finding success in? Maybe we could talk about that a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
think I'm gonna say the word strategy, which I kind of dislike because I think, I don't know if there's such a thing. I think you can do whatever and be successful
Mm-hmm.
because there's people doing all sorts of things and
Totally.
being successful in different ways. So my strategy was always, oh, this thing happened in my life. I just learned this thing. Let me go and share it with people. And here's how you can learn. And because some people say, oh, you just have to be one step ahead of your client to help them.
Mm,
And I see it a different way. I think you're just not in their situation. Yes, we have all the tools which are really helpful, but also we're seeing it from outside, like a drone shot, right? Like we're just like, oh, I'm looking at all these things while you're so full of cortisol that you're just focusing on this one thing, and I see all these other things here. Not to say that I don't have my own things in my life, but so my strategy was always like, oh, this happened in my life. Let me go and share, and
mm,
people might find it helpful. And a lot of things, when a lot of times when I share things that are more, oh, how about you go and do this specific exercise, and people see the difference it makes,
mm.
I think that's when they're like, oh, if that's something that just from this one thing I could make my life a little bit better, maybe having this relationship in the deeper way, it will be so much better, which is true. It will.
Yeah.
For sure.
Have you seen a connection between, as you've progressed, like the more vulnerable and open your posting is on Facebook, the more people respond, the more conversations come in, the more
Yeah.
people are signing up for
Yeah,
involvement
I think
calls.
I think always it was always like that. It was always like the post that I feel a little like, before pressing the post, but
Yeah.
I was like, okay, no, this is fine. This is fine. You have to kind of, and then like post and close Facebook. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna look at this right now, and kind of go away. And you want to like puke a little bit. I feel like every time I do one of those, it's when more people, because people feel seen. Like
Mm,
those are the things that you're like, oh, I have this thing. It is such a horrible secret that I can't even tell myself it's true. And then here's a person that's telling it to everyone. This is one of the things that my mom was really upset when I first, sent that email and told her about these things. Like, why do you have to share it with everyone?
mm,
Why do you have to do this? I was like, I get it that you don't understand, but like I have to, because a lot of people are feeling this way and thinking they're wrong because of it. And
yeah.
I want them to understand that they're not. And they're
Yeah.
perfect just the way they are. And you can be a really good mom, even when insert whatever horrible thing you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like that is, in practical terms, those were the things that really, I think attract. Oh, I saw this thing, and even for things like this, like podcast interview, like I got so many lately, just because people, yeah, I don't. How is that? Why are you doing this? And
Yeah. Yeah.
how can you even? And I just feel like every day is like, oh, it's just getting easier and easier. I don't care.
Yeah.
One person said something when I said I was doing this. She said, oh, I'm an open book. You can ask me whatever. And I was like, you know what? That's interesting because that's how I always were. Like I was always very honest. If you ask me, I will tell you. I
Hmm.
can even ask before, do you want honesty or do you want me to just like, fluff your feathers or whatever? Um, but people are not going to necessarily ask me, I mean, how I hated myself for so many years, but not
Mm,
for not saying I love you to my dad in his deathbed. Like,
yeah.
how are you going to ask this? You don't know this. So, of course, you're not going to ask a question about it. So, I feel there's a difference between, yes, I will be honest and answer your questions versus I am going to tell you things that you didn't ask.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you might not want to know, and you can just scroll away if that's the case. But,
Yeah. I love that. I
so
think, I've seen something for myself around the extension of honesty that I see in client creation, where if I see somebody that's, a potential client, and maybe they're on Facebook, maybe I've DM'd them, maybe we've had one conversation. If I see something, some way that I can help them, and I'm not reaching out to them, I was like, I had the realization, I was like, wow, I'm lying. I'm a liar right now.
Yeah, and you're not
Is it?
serving them too,
Yeah.
because you
Um,
can say those things and then they can be like, no thanks, because
yeah.
you have to be ready for to go through this. So
Yeah.
sure. And I do that a lot too, like in commenting on other people's posts or in I used to censor myself. I used to read the other answers to see. Like now I don't read any comment. If I want to comment on something, I can even read the comments after if I'm interested in what people are saying. But
Mhm.
I first of all, before reading anything, I see the question or the issue and I comment and then, oh, interesting. Let me go see other things. And before it was like kind of, let me see if someone already said that or if
Yeah.
this is too much or whatever. I was like, no, this is my answer. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that kind of thing also has been very made a difference,
Yeah.
not consuming other people's um I don't know, information or opinions or whatever before I tell them my own. I feel like that also makes a huge difference.
Yeah, totally. So what I'm kind of gathering from all this, or one of the things I'm gathering from a practical perspective, not that this is the way it is, but it's like the more uncomfortable you feel in the vulnerability of the post is like the more hits you get, the more conversations you get, the more it might become, a
Yeah, but
fun
if it is a thing,
conversation.
because like for instance, there was one big thing that I thought I was gonna share, and then I decided not to because when I thought of it, I was like, okay, why am I gonna share this?
Hmm.
Because this is not about my ego and not about, oh, let me say this because this is true about me. I'm like, okay, who am I gonna be helping with this? And what is the difference that is gonna make? And there was one thing that I was like, I don't think that's gonna help anyone.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna, other than me just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna say this and you can judge me or not, just like, oh, I'm gonna be brave of doing that. I don't feel the need to do it because this is not an ego thing. Just is really about allowing other people to see them. And that was one that I was like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna be it. I don't think that's gonna make a difference. So I just not do it. And I might change my mind tomorrow. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen that connection because I always before posting, I'm like, why am I posting this? And if I'm gonna help one person, if one person's gonna read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Like I feel better in some way. I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel like I'm not wrong in some way. Great. That's my whole point. And then people comment back, it's like, oh, I needed to see this. I'm like, okay, job is done. That was it. That was all I
Yeah.
needed. One person to see to feel less wrong and less not enough and less worthy,
Yeah.
less unworthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point. Is like, are we
Mhm.
sharing vulnerably selfishly, or is there service,
Yeah.
right? Is it coming
Yeah. Is it
from loving,
ego? Is it
giving?
service? Yeah.
And I definitely see times when people share and I'm just like, TMI, I didn't,
Right.
great, but
Right.
I read your post. I think what you do so well is you share in a way that's, I mean, it really serves, like it really serves people. And it obviously is, I think, serving you, it sounds like as well, greatly, but it's like it really connects, and it's in
Hmm.
service. So I think that's beautiful.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so I had one last bit I thought we could hit on, and then maybe we could wrap up. Um,
Hmm.
so I wanted to just hit on, because I was looking at a bunch of your posts, and the idea of asking, or making bold asks, right?
Hmm.
Or in a post, what you might call a call to action, but I like
Hmm.
to think of it as asking, right? Um, and I want to read to you. I want to read to you a call to action that you had from February, and then one
Hmm.
that you had from the
I love
last
that you're going through my
couple weeks.
Facebook like treasure chest. I
It
don't
was so
remember any of
fun
this.
because it was like,
Uh-huh.
how does a person go from this to that, right? It's really
Uh-huh.
interesting. Okay, here's February's call to action. At the end of the post, this is where you're getting people to try to sign up for a call with you. Here's February. When you're ready to upgrade to U 2.0, let's get on a 1 hour totes free call. This is a zero pressure chat, no hard sales, no pushy tactics, just a diagnosis and prescription, if you will. You can take it or leave it, and I can guarantee you'll get a lot of value from it no matter your decision. I've heard from a few people who didn't sign up that just the discovery call is enough to shift their perspectives. All right,
Hmm.
that was February. Here's the
Hmm.
last week or two. We're not cute little kittens. We're goddamn cheetahs. Get fucking used to it. You want to do this work? I promise you, having me as your one-on-one coach would change not only your life, but the world. Book a free call here and I'll tell you how.
I love it.
What are you hearing the difference between those two?
I think it's really, first of all, I think February was not in that whole like being a little wishy-washy, but still, I felt like I think I still was in a, yeah, sure, if you want it, that's fine. And now it's like I'm just like so sold
Mm,
in what I do. It's, and having been a cancer surgeon, is like I just feel like I have the cure for cancer. And if you don't want, and I had people come to my office and say, no, I don't want surgery. And I would tell them like, this is what's probably going to happen if you don't have this treatment. And if they say no, I'm like, you know what, fine. I mean, it's okay,
mm,
right? I know this is what you need. I know this is what, it's the thing that's going to help you continue living a healthy life. But if you don't want it, I can't force you. You can throw yourself in front of the bus too if you want. Like it's, I mean, right? Like,
yeah.
so I think that's how I think about it now. It's really like this work is life changing and it's amazing. You might not be ready for it. You might not want it. You might not believe in it. And all these things are fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay. But like, trust me, if you're ready, just do it because
Yeah.
I feel so strongly about it. I had all issues like with my pricing and all these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's too expensive. And now it's like, dude, this is such a steal because you're gonna
Yeah.
pay this money, and for the rest of your life, you're gonna carry this. Like this is
Yeah.
never gonna go away. And you're gonna teach your kids, you're gonna spread it to your husband and or partner and your parents and your friends and all. Like it's just gonna be, that's why I think it really changes the world, because it's that ripple effect that's all we can do, right? Just influence our immediate sphere, and that's what changes everything.
Yeah, I love that. It's like I love how you said I have the cure for cancer. That's, and if you believe
Totally.
that, I mean, that's all that it takes in my mind to flip everything for a coach
Yeah.
is like to believe that. Then it's like it just comes out and you're speaking, right? It's
Yeah,
that
no, I
feeling
think
of believing.
that was another
That's what it is.
thing that got really different in these months since that post you read, which was just really noticing how this work is so important,
Mm,
just by listening and asking the questions that will make the client think. It can really change the world, because I am so convinced that if women, especially moms, realize how powerful and amazing they are, the world is going to change, because there's not going to be like all this bullshit that's happening. Do you think like after Sandy Hook, for instance, if women were in charge and moms were in charge, we would still be having shootings like for, there's just not, no way. So I think it just would spread to so many things that we can't even see now. That doesn't happen because most of us have this, I'm not good enough, I shouldn't say that, how, who am I to do this, and all these kinds of things, when I'm like, we make people. We make people. We're so
mm,
powerful. How can you think you can't do anything? Right?
yeah, 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 definitely. I love that. Oh, let me see if is there anything else that you think would be helpful, either on the topic of vulnerability that we haven't touched on, or anything that you've seen or learned that you want to impart for anybody that's a new or early stage coach that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
something I would say would be, there's a fox walking by me right now. She comes every day. It's like old news by now. So I would say to, if you're a new coach and you feel like you want to be more open, but you feel like you're gonna die if you post things like that on Facebook, just start small. Start having these very open, vulnerable conversations with people in your life, because I will assure you, you haven't talked about a bunch of things with your partner, with your parents, your siblings, with your kids if they're grown up. There are so many things that you can do, and maybe just, for instance, with your grown up kids, you can tell them things that you did wrong in your
Yeah.
early years, and that you're telling them, hey, this is probably not a great idea. It's just, it really can change even your relationship with them. And if you do this, like start small like this,
Mm,
I feel like, to me, it's way easier to tell a bunch of strangers about things than it was to tell my mom.
mm,
So after I sent that email, I was like, I can tell whomever, whatever, I don't care,
mm,
because like I told the hardest person, right? Because it's that it's that kind of relationship you have, or the people who knew you from forever, who think sometimes might even still think that you are that person from the past.
Yeah, yeah,
And now when you show them like, hey, this is who I am right now, and yes, I did, like, there was these things in my life, but this is how I think now, and I've changed this and that, like, this can be so powerful, and it can really help you to be able to open up and to be more vulnerable and open
yeah,
with your people, and
yeah.
in on social media or in these kinds of things.
Yeah, I love that. I mean,
Mhm.
that's definitely one of my big takeaways is start small. You can baby step your way
Yeah,
there.
baby steps,
You don't
exactly.
have to be radical. Vulnerability experiment on day one, right? Like
No,
you
no.
march there over time,
You can even
expand your
just
circles.
admit to yourself. That can be like a huge thing. If you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about things in your life and you're like, yes, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, I was wrong about that, or
Mhm.
I, whatever, like,
Yeah,
right. Just having that and feeling that, okay, I was wrong, and feel whatever you're going to feel. You can feel anger, you can feel sad, sit there and feel all those things, right? Don't numb it with Netflix, shopping, or alcohol. Just really feel them. And even if you don't tell another person, that might be might make such a difference in your life.
yeah. Awesome. This is wonderful, Manuela. I love this so
It was
much.
so fun
Um,
chatting with you.
yeah, you too. Where can people find you if they want to check you out or they want to check out what you're doing with radical vulnerability and all of that good stuff?
Yeah,
What's the
my
best place for
website
them to
is
go?
manuelapowell.com. And I show up a lot on Facebook. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and a bunch of other places, but Facebook is definitely my home. So if you want to hear about a bunch of F bombs and how I mess up all the time,
Always.
you can friend me, you can hang out with me, and I'll be happy to tell you all this.
Love it.
Yeah, so manuelapowell.com, and I will look forward to connecting with you.
All righty. Thank you so much, Manuela. I love this,
Thank
and
you,
we'll talk
Dan.
soon. All right.
All right.
Bye.